What if everything you've been taught about getting rich is backwards? Here's a question most people never ask. Why do some of the most generous people on the planet, people who give away their time, their money, their knowledge, end up becoming some of the wealthiest and most successful? Is that a coincidence? Or is generosity actually a hidden strategy for building real, lasting wealth? We live in a world that rewards accumulation. Save more, spend less, protect what you have, hold on tight. But there's a paradox hiding in plain sight, one that the most successful entrepreneurs, scientists, and leaders quietly understand. Today, we're going to break it open, because once you see the giving paradox, you cannot unsee it, and it will change the way you think about money, success, and what it means to truly get ahead. If this perspective even slightly challenges how you think about money, like the video, drop a quick comment with your take, and share it with someone who needs to hear this, because what's coming next might completely change the game. Most of us are running on a program installed in childhood. There is not enough to go around. Not enough money, not enough opportunity, not enough time. So, the logical response? Guard everything you have. Keep score. Play defense. Psychologists call this a scarcity mindset, and research from behavioral economists Sendhil Lolanathan and Eldar Shafir at Harvard and Princeton confirms that it actually narrows your cognitive bandwidth. When your brain is locked in scarcity mode, you make worse decisions, you see fewer options, you close yourself off from the very opportunities that could change your situation. Here's where it gets ironic. The scarcity mindset doesn't protect your wealth, it limits it. When you hoard your knowledge, people stop trusting you. When you network with a what's in it for me attitude, doors close. When you're only focused on what you might lose, you stop noticing what you could gain. The scarcity loop becomes self-fulfilling. So what happens when you break it? What happens when someone decides to give without an immediate expectation of return? That's where the real story starts. Here's what actually happens in your brain when you give. Neuroscientists at the National Institutes of Health have shown that voluntary giving activates the brain's mesolimbic reward pathway, the same circuitry triggered by food and social connection. There's a reason this has been called the helper's high. But the real power of giving isn't just chemical, it's social. Robert Cialdini's foundational research on the principle of reciprocity shows that when you give to someone, they feel a genuine psychological pull to give back. It's wired into us as a species. And then there's social capital, the invisible currency of relationships, trust, and goodwill. Business professor Adam Grant at Wharton spent years studying this. His research, published in his book Give and Take, found that the single most successful group in any field wasn't the takers or the matchers, it was the givers. The people who contributed without keeping score eventually outperformed everyone else. Giving is not charity, it's not weakness, it's an investment in the most powerful asset you have, trust. And unlike money, trust compounds. Let me tell you about two people. The first is Gary Vaynerchuk, entrepreneur, investor, and one of the earliest adopters of social media marketing. In the late 2000s, when most business owners were asking, "How do I monetize my audience?" Gary did the opposite. He gave away everything: hours of free business advice, daily videos, raw, unfiltered content for years before making a dime from it. People told him he was leaving money on the table. But what Gary was actually doing was building a trust bank. Every piece of free value he gave was a deposit. By the time he asked for anything in return, a book sale, a speaking gig, an agency client, the goodwill he'd accumulated was so enormous that saying yes felt natural. VaynerMedia, his agency, grew to over $200 million in annual revenue. Now, contrast that with a different pattern, one you've probably seen. The person who guards every idea, shares nothing until they're paid, keeps all their contacts close, and treats every interaction like a transaction.
They're not dishonest, they're just closed. And over time, the people around them sense it and stop bringing opportunities their way. Their network stagnates, their reputation stays flat. not because they weren't talented, but because talent hoarded in silence grows no one's trust. The difference between these two paths isn't skill. It's not even luck. It's a willingness to give first, to invest in others before the return is visible. That's the paradox made real. The more you release, the more comes back. And here's the good news. You don't need millions of followers or a viral moment to apply this. So how do you actually use this? Start with the 3 currencies of giving: your time, your knowledge, and your connections. You don't have to write a check. You don't need to sacrifice everything. Strategic generosity isn't about giving blindly. It's about giving with intention and then letting go of the scoreboard. Give your time. Show up for people without an agenda. Mentorship, feedback, a conversation. These deposits don't cost much, but they're remembered for years. Give your knowledge. Share what you know, in conversation, online, in meetings. When you're the person who teaches, you become the person people trust, and trusted people get opportunities first. Give your connections. Introduce people who should know each other. Be the node in the network that creates value for others. Every introduction you make that helps someone else builds your reputation as someone worth knowing. The key distinction, and this matters, is strategic generosity versus blind giving. You're not trying to be everyone's doormat. You're investing in high-trust relationships and communities where value genuinely circulates. Start small. Today, send one email introducing 2 people who should meet. Write one piece of content that helps someone for free. Share one insight in a meeting without worrying about who gets credit. These aren't grand gestures. They're tiny shifts that, compounded over time, rewire how the world sees you and how many doors quietly open. The return doesn't come from one transaction. It comes from becoming someone people want to invest in. So, back to where we started. Why do some of the most generous people also become the most successful? Because wealth isn't just money in a bank. It's trust, it's reputation, it's the depth of relationships you've built and the value you've created for others. When you give without keeping score, you don't lose. You compound. That's the giving paradox. If this shifted something for you, hit like. It genuinely helps this reach people who need to hear it. And subscribe if you want more ideas like this. The next one might change something too. See you there.